Hello everyone, welcome to PU Inquirer. Today we have one of the well-known names in the field of Indian cinema, Mr. Hariharan with us. Let's ask about his filmmaking experience, his teaching experience and his views on the changing trends in cinema.
You know, way back in 1973, the FTII was probably the only place where a young boy like me could go and learn filmmaking. So at that time, as a young boy, I had no other option, let me honestly say, because I was a huge film buff. And as a film buff, you know, I wanted to make films. And one of the reasons in those days, many people thought I wanted to go into the Film Institute was also because I was not very good in my academics, So it was considered that those who are not good at academics go join filmmaking. However, I was very passionate and I did go to make films. And one thing I decided after going to the Film Institute, I realized two things, very, very important things. The first thing is that I came to a conclusion that cinema is not the medium of an author. Although I went to do direction, I realized that cinema is not just the director's medium alone. It also required the extremely able contribution of a great cinematographer, a great sound recordist, a great music recordist, a wonderful scenarist, a great writer, dialogue writers. So what happened was, I said, why are we always referring to films as to be made by one director? Why are they always given credit to one director? So that was the first realization. The second realization, I said, that after 3 years of filmmaking experience and so many films that I did as short films, why should I go and assist anybody? So I decided right at the beginning that I am going to direct my own films. So with these two decisions, my very first feature film, which was part of a cooperative. So when I say my film, I mean my cooperative's film. I formed the Yukt Film Co-operative. I was the chairman of the Yukt Film Co-operative, where 16 students got together to make one film. And we met a very, very renowned screenwriter, screenplay writer, theatre director, a person called Vijay Tendulkar. And he gave us the rights to his play called Ghashiram Kotwal. And with that, he gave the rights to even use all his actors, between 40 actors. So, in fact, it was an extremely ambitious venture to go out and make your very first film, along with a group of 15 other students of your class and 40 actors from a troupe. It was an amazing feat. And it was a 90-minute film, and we had 13 songs, 40 actors, 6 locations, and just 9 days. 9 days to make a 90-minute feature film with a budget of just 1.5 lakhs of rupees. It is simply unthinkable to do anything like that today. But it requires a certain kind of madness, a certain kind of, you must be really off. You must be so deeply involved with your work. And very important is that you must be able to motivate the rest of them also to contribute equally. So the film was completed, and then that year, fortunately, 1978, was the first time that the Indian Film Panorama was held. The first film panorama in Madras. It was Madras at that time, not Chennai. So we were there, and this film was screened, and it was extremely appreciated by a representative who came from the Berlin Film Festival. And he said, I would like to screen it at Berlin. And so January I showed the film in Madras, and in February I am with the film in Berlin. And it can be such an ecstatic experience, that you are a young boy, just hardly 25 years old, and your very first film is selected for the Berlin Film Festival. And you go there, and when you come back, you got such a huge halo around your head that nobody wants to touch you anymore. And they say, look, Mr. Hariharan, we don't want to make films with you anymore, because you will bring us awards and not rewards. So that put me in a big dilemma. What am I going to do? I can make films. I'm very competent to make films, but I should have producers who are willing to go with my ideas. And it is at that time that I was extremely fortunate to meet one of the greatest doyens of Indian cinema. His name was V. Shantaram. Mr. V. Shantaram, who had made some amazing films in Marathi for the Prabhat Studios, was the chairperson of the Children's Film Society. So he came to know about the fact that one mad fellow called Hariharan had made another mad film called Ghashiram Kotwal. But he was a Marathi film, so he said, can I come and see it? So I said, sure. I took the film over to him, and he told me after seeing the film that, Hari, apart from the fact that this film is in Marathi, I couldn't understand a thing about this film. What is it that you are trying to do? I said, sir, please don't ask me to explain this. You are such a senior man. It's an experimental film. This is how students make films, so please forgive me. No. Oh, experimental films? Even I have made experimental films. What do you mean? I said, yeah, it's a slightly different kind of a cinema. Then he asked me these very 3 questions. How long did it take you to make this film? I said, 10 days. In 10 days you finished this whole film? I said, yes, sir. How much money did you spend to make this film? I said, 1.5 lakhs. His dentures came out of his mouth. You did this in 1.5 lakhs rupees? Third question, will you make a children's film? I said, of course I'll make a children's film, why not? And he said, good. When can you give me a script? So I had to ask him, when do you want it? He thought about it a little and he said, can you give it to me day after tomorrow? I said, sure, it'll be there day after tomorrow. First lesson in filmmaking, never say no to an offer. Just grab it, go passionately, do it. What is the difference between popular cinema? Are they diametrically opposite to each other, popular cinema and documentaries? No, they are not diametrically opposite. They are dialectically opposite to each other, which means that popular cinema needs documentary cinema needs popular cinema. And I tell you why. See, popular cinema gives you the idea of structuring, gives you the idea of timing, gives you the idea of rhythm, gives you ideas about composing, gives you ideas about colors and textures. These things, something which you cannot learn while making a documentary film. But what is the beauty of a documentary film? You watch life in reality. You encounter people as real people, not as structured people, not as characters in a screenplay, right? So you do that. That influences popular cinema. Popular cinema, these people watch, and it goes back and forth. So the relationship between popular cinema and mainstream cinema is almost like the yin and the yang. They are not really opposed to each other. For example, let me ask you this question. If tomorrow you wanted to know how Raj Kapoor looked in 1952, you have to go and see a film called Sri 420, because there is no documentary film on Raj Kapoor. And that is the only document available of Raj Kapoor today. So the popular cinema becomes a document. So tomorrow, today at the moment, as we are all here, a place called Ramavaram has become a huge tourist attraction. Okay, it's a contemporary reality. And Ramavaram was the place where a film called Sholay was made. Now, people go to that location like a documentary location. Ramavaram is not anymore a space for telling a story, but actually to document the fact that a film was made here of a scale of Sholay. So you see, there is a continuous back and forth between. So more and more popular cinema is coming to make itself feel real. So when you see a film like La La Land, and if you see that these guys are dancing on a highway on a 4.5 minute shot, that's documentary. That is documentary. It is real. It's all happening. Nothing is unreal there. If documentary is about reality, this is real. Except that it was structured, it was pre-planned, and it was all set up. Now, can you really touch your heart and say, in a documentary film there is no setting up? Of course there is setting up. You ask people to sit down and you say, can I ask you this question? And they say, no, please don't ask me this question. Can you ask me another question? I will not answer this. This is setting up. This is not about, oh, I have the right to expression, you must answer me. You cannot hold anybody on a gunhead and say, please answer this question, otherwise you're not going to do. So every place, even in a documentary film, there is a choice. You don't have to think too much about it. You go way back. You go way back to the day the cinema was invented, 1895, when Lumiere brothers filmed the train arriving at the station. That was documentary, right? But when you see that film, you can also see it was staged to an extent, because the people who are on the platform, they have all moved away nicely to show you the train arriving. And once the train arrives, you can see the people are walking. Obviously, the director has told them, please move away, I want to see the train arriving. Okay, now that's documentary in a way. look at the next filmmaker, very, very important filmmaker who changed the whole thing. His name was George Méliès. What did George Méliès do? He took one shot and he cut another shot to it. And he said, that's magic. He was a magician. He was a magician. What he finally taught us that the moment you edit a film, you have entered into the realm of fiction. Because in reality, there are no cuts. Only in fiction can I cut from 4:30 to 6:30 in the evening. In documentary, you cannot. So therefore, there was actually a whole movement in documentary cinema called cinema verite. In cinema verite, people switched on a camera and did not switch it off till the scene came to an end, till the questionnaire came to an end. So even if there was a hesitation on behalf of the director, of the actors, or some sound that came from outside, they would say, no, don't cut, let it go on. That's all part of cinema verite. That crow is cawing, keep it on, that's all part of cinema verite. Now, there was a whole movement like that which said, don't cut, it's all cinema, that's all reality. Now, this was a huge influence on a later feature filmmaker called Lars von Trier, who made Dogma films, and he made, dancing and some dancing on the train or something like that. Now, the whole Dogma movement began, and then he does Dogville. So many things have influenced the popular cinema movement, The singular takes that you watch in a film like Birdman, It's a reflection of the documentary on popular cinema. So you see, the umbilical cord that ties these two frames together are extremely complex, and I don't want to distinguish myself as a documentary filmmaker versus a feature filmmaker. They are dialectically connected to each other. They are like the yin and the yang that have to come together to make reality come alive. So my concerns are twofold. One is that I read some stories and I see that story appealing, and therefore I feel those concerns are my concerns, right? So when Ezhavathu Manithan came up, and I saw there is a factory available, there is actors available, and a lot of work happens because of the material available to you. That is the harsh reality of filmmaking. I mean, if you want to do a film about the tribals in, the Maoists and the movements in tribals in Jharkhand, you must have the facility to go there. You must have the opportunity to go and meet them. You cannot sit here and plan, let's do a film on Maoists in Jharkhand, It's not possible. You got to create those facilities. So cinema depends on the materiality of the facilities available. And we have to make those opportunities. And if it cannot come by, then make a film on something else. Like, for example, I read in the newspapers today that the penguins in Antarctica are disappearing. So do I take off the camera and say, oh my God, I must go to Antarctica right now? Where is the facility for you to go to Antarctica right now? Is it possible? It is not. You need to have lots of licenses before you go even anywhere near the borders of Newfoundland to go to Antarctica. It's not something so simple as that. So, what I'm trying to say is that these are stories that come to you and it appeals to you. It's not that I want to make a story about some social issue and therefore I go looking for it. No, I am not. I don't want to pretend to do that. I am not an activist. I am not an activist going about wanting to. Society is changing at far more rapid levels than what do you think my films can do. So I just do films where the conflict interests me. And the conflict in Current was very simple. A man who wants to drive his pump and he has forgotten to pay his electricity bill. It is something as mundane as that, paying an electricity bill. And that fascinated me. Why can't I make a story about that? I mean, it probably appealed to me because once it happened to me itself. The current in my house got cut off because of this. And I remember the torture that I went through for 1 month to get it restored. However, there are players like Om Puri said, okay, sure, I will do this role. And Deepti Nawal said, I will do this role. And Vaidyanathan said, I'll do the music. These people are also part of my film. I cannot claim ownership to Current without acknowledging Om Puri, without acknowledging Dharma, my cameraman, or without acknowledging Deepti Nawal. These are all people who worked with me and made that one film possible. So it is also their concern as much as my concern. So as filmmakers, all of you, I would only advise that do not try to have ownership on your concern. Be a stakeholder of that concern. But you cannot own that concern and say, this is my concern, you cannot touch that concern. You have no copyrights on concerns. Right? So be open-minded, There are so many concerns in the world. Keep your mind open to the various concerns. One of them will certainly be working for you at one point of time. And when it comes, grab that opportunity, go make it. After I made my last film in 2002, a film called Dubashi, a children's film, I had kind of felt that I had reached almost everything that I wanted to do in cinema. I was a bit tired. I had done 350 documentary films, 8 feature films. I was feeling a bit tired. And I said, let me take a break. It was a kind of a break. The break was of 2 reasons. You see, in 2002, if you go back in history, you will find that almost all cinema theatres had switched over to the CinemaScope format. There was no theatre, no camera, no material available which could shoot a 1:1.6 ratio, which is called a widescreen. I would like to do 1:1.3, but I wouldn't mind 1:1.6. But 1:2.3, let me be honest, I do not know how to frame for CinemaScope. The CinemaScope was basically made for the spectacular film, made for the cowboy western. It was made for the giant song picturizations. Great, but my films are not about that. So if I want to make my kind of stories, which appeal to me on a CinemaScope format, they would fail very miserably. I realized it, and so I kind of decided, let me take a break. Probably something else will come up shortly, and at that time I will come back to cinema. So during that break, I was just very, very fortunate that I met Mr. Ramesh Prasad, who asked me what was I doing, Parallelly, when I was doing these films, I used to take a break and go to the United States. I used to teach at the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia for 10 years, but I used to teach only spring semesters, and I would teach a course on Indian cinema and the cinema of Satyajit Ray for a semester and come back. So that gave me a lot of experience in teaching to complete novices, people who had never heard about Indian cinema. So when Ramesh Prasad asked me, what are you doing in America every year? I said, I'm teaching film studies. He says, what is this film studies? What is it about? I said, no, it teaches about sociology, aesthetics, appreciation. He said, don't bullshit yourself, What are you doing? I said, what's wrong with film studies? He said, no. Will even one of them become a filmmaker, he asked me, I said, no. Nobody's going to become a filmmaker. They're all school kids from Wharton and medical school and law school, Then he said, why are you wasting your time teaching them? He said, what do you want me to do? He said, teach filmmakers, I said, what do you mean, how teach filmmakers? He said, well, I said, I need a studio, I need laboratories, I need classrooms, I need lights, I need cameras, I need tracks, I need cranes. And Ramesh Prasad said, I have all that. I'll give it to you. Teach filmmakers. He was like Don Vito Corleone in Godfather. He made an offer I couldn't refuse. So I said, okay, I will run the Prasad Academy. And that's how it started. So way back in 2004, I started the L.V. Prasad Film and TV Academy. But as I was teaching that, a huge revolution came through at that time. And that was the digital camera and digital projection. And everything that I have been dreaming about in film was turned upside down. You have autofocus, you have auto color correction, you have auto this, auto that. And I said, if everything is auto, what am I doing? I should be driving an auto rickshaw, If the camera can do everything, if these editing machines can do everything, what the hell am I doing, So I kind of felt that at the end of, 8 years that I'm doing a kind of a con game, you can't teach filmmaking anymore. Especially when kids are using a mobile camera and making movies, how am I going to teach lensing in this? How am I going to teach framing in this, But I said, look, if this is growing like wildfire, if young boys and girls are picking up a mobile phone and taking film, taking shots, taking selfies with such passion, there must be something good in it. There must be something great in it. I'm not able to see it at the moment, but there is something potential. So I decided, give up teaching films and get back to studying films. So let me tell you, the fact that I am now teaching at the Ashoka University, a course in film studies with liberal arts students, a very selfish move. I am actually energizing myself. Probably in 2 years' time, the world of digital cinema is going through is going to go through a paradigm shift, a shift that will never be witnessed before. And I want to be ready for that. And hopefully you will all be there with me at that moment. When films are made, they obey two laws. The two laws of cinema are that cinema always operates within a fixed space. If you start a film in 16:9, it will end in 16:9. You cannot shift that. Okay? That means your entire visual aesthetic, your entire process of creating images is defined by an aspect ratio called 16:9. You may mask it, you may vignette it, you may put circles in it, you may put multiple projections in it, but it is still 16:9. Okay, that's one. Two, cinema is also defined by a precise duration, which means that today, if this program is going to last for 20 minutes, it's going to last for 20 minutes tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, and 20 years later. So which means cinema obeys the laws of fixed duration and fixed space. Digital cinema is going to change that. At this moment, we are using digital cameras and digital microphones, digital projection systems to make analog films. We are not doing digital films. Digital cinema means, A, it has to break the laws of the fixed space and fixed duration. It has to break that. Then only it is digital cinema. So what should it be? It should be immersive realities. Number two, it should be timeless, which means the time should be decided by the viewer. How long he or she wants to see the film should be decided by the viewer. So if you have to think about that paradigm shift, and if I have to give a name, it would be called Wiki Cinema. Wiki Cinema is like Wikipedia. When you open a page on Wikipedia, you say, I'm going to read this page, and then you see a hyperlink, you click on that, you go to another page, you click a hyperlink, go to another page. You can sit on Wikipedia forever and still not finish it. Imagine a cinema in which you have images as hyperlinks. You touch the image, it goes to another image. You touch that, it goes to another story. You see, suppose you are watching a historical film, the Ten Commandments, say Cleopatra, and you're watching Cleopatra and you see the pyramids in that movie, and you say, wow, that pyramid looks awesome. Where is it? And you click on that, and you go to the pyramids today straight away, and you say, oh, that's in Egypt. It's outside Cairo. How do I reach it? How many flights are available to Cairo? Okay, can I book this flight? Book that flight. Where is the nearest hotel? Book that hotel. And you say, okay, what are the other things I can do? And then go back to see Cleopatra, the movie. So the movie experience is now become part of a larger reality. Cinema is not going to be a standalone experience anymore. Cinema is going to integrate itself. This idea of storytelling and all that is truly going to enter into the world of documentary. It will be all documentary. It will be all the way the viewer is going to document. That is precisely the beauty of this paradigm shift, because ultimately the spectator is going to be the ruler. Democracy is going to be the winner. And I think that's what we are all meant here for, to make democratic processes the winner and not political charlatans, as we are seeing today, masquerading as leaders of democracy. Right? Today we are really facing the crisis, and therefore digital cinema is not only going to reflect our own political intentions, but also the larger wishes of the medium itself. And I think that's what digital cinema is going to be. I mean, I don't see it as, I'm not like talking about rocket science. This is already happening in the world of games, for example. I mean, when you play video games, can you say, I'm going to finish it in 10 minutes? No, it's not possible. You can play a game for on and on and on. There is no end, am I right? I mean, if you see a game, and if you're doing racing cars, and you're running two racing cars, and then as you're running these two racing cars, you see a third car is overtaking you, and nobody is driving that. I mean, the two of us are not driving that car. So who drove that car? It's a piece of artificial intelligence embedded into the system. So tomorrow, cinema is going to have lots of artificial intelligence embedded in it. So truly, tomorrow's cinema is going to see the embrace of man and machine, of mind and computers. They're going to come together and we will all be making films together. And the final world will end up in the world of holograms, where you don't need a projector, you don't need a screen, you can project mid-air. You can see images just like this. And already so much experiments are happening in the world of holograms. I think by the time you come into a manageable age as professionals, holograms will be a reality, and I will be there with you. Thank you.